Hi, I'm Nancy Eberhardt, co-author of Sortegories, a web-based practice tool for beginning readers. Along with Cheryl Ferlito, we created the Word Knowledge Network to help create a conceptual visual structure for the product that we created. The Word Knowledge Network simultaneously combines three features. One, the components of a skilled reading. Two, the order in which we typically teach them. And three, how they work in an iterative or interactive way to make for skilled reading. If I say the sounds k, as, I am at the first point on the knowledge network, which is phonology, where we're focused on the sounds, the spoken sounds that make up our language. When I move to sound spelling, I've now associated the letter or letters that represent those sounds. The C-A-S-T represents k, as. Syllables are the next larger unit of our words, and they're important for us to consider in this network because they become a larger building block for words. And as soon as students are able to decode single syllable words, they can begin to combine syllables to make longer words. For example, cast can be part of castaway or recast or casting. As we move around the word knowledge network, we then move out of that part we think of as phonics and into the meaning making component, which is very much gaining importance as we think about what makes for a skilled reader. So semantics is very important because every word has at least one meaning, and that's actually an important aspect, which is most words have more than one meaning. For example, cast could mean the hard, stiff bandage we put on a broken bone. It can be a group of people who put on a play. It's the action that we do when we are throwing a line into the water to fish. Important to know that there are multiple meanings for words. And of course, it's going to be especially important to know which meaning we are requiring in a context, and that is the stuff of syntax, which we'll get to in a moment. Next on our path around the word knowledge network is morphology. And morphology has to do with how we can impact the meaning of the word, in this case, a base word like cast, by adding prefixes or suffixes that can alter its meaning or change its meaning. So, for example, I could add ing to cast for casting, and that becomes an action that I'm doing something right now. Or I could add the prefix re to make it recast, which means I'm doing it again, casting again. So by adding these components, morphological units, we can build more new words and build our vocabulary. But the last position on our network is syntax. And syntax is where we can sort out or make sense of these multiple meanings, because it isn't until a word is into a context, be it a phrase, a clause, sentence, or even longer units of text, that we can determine which of the multiple meanings we have in mind. So the word knowledge network lays out these layers of meaning, layers of knowledge about a given word. And while we went around the network in a clockwise direction, it's important to keep in mind that our knowledge of a word, such as how it, the multiple meanings or that it has a meaning, can also accelerate or enhance our ability to decode a word. For when a word is in our listening lexicon, it helps us to more quickly blend the sounds together as a recognizable word. And in this graphic is showing how Sortegories activities, those activity names listed under each position on the network, are the relationship between Sortegories and the network. Here's another way to look at that, and it's probably the more useful, helpful way to see Sortegories is laid out as this 9-activity grid. and each row of activities relates to the network. The word knowledge network also has a great relationship, a strong relationship to structured literacy instruction. We know in structured literacy instruction that we start typically with establishing sound to spelling correspondences. From there, we build words. Those words are used to build phrases. And if we continue to go up building, we build sentences and ultimately paragraphs and longer text. And that is, in fact, what the path around this network is doing, is moving from those sound to spelling associations to text. Looking at this another way, the progression from the top row of activities to the third row is also building from the sound to spelling level to connected words in phrases and then ultimately sentences. So let's take a more close look at the relationship between the network and each row of sortegories. The first row focuses on the phonology and the sound to spelling associations of the word knowledge network. Sound match has us focusing on initial phoneme isolation. Map it deals with phoneme manipulation, deletion, segmentation, and manipulation by changing a sound to create a new word. And build it is where we chain from one word to a next to another by changing one sound or one syllable to build new words. And through all of that, a kind of blocked practice, we are trying to help our students become automatic and accurate at the code level. The second row of activities in Sortegories deals with the next two positions on the knowledge network, which are semantics and morphology. And this row now takes the words that students can decode and adds a layer of meaning. So the same words, or many of the words that are decodable based on row one, are now the focus of related, where students are looking at word relationships such as antonyms, synonyms, examples, non-examples. Categorize it, which is a semantic sorting activity. For example, things that are green, emotions, or analogy building, where students try to solve a word puzzle using as their answer a word that is decodable. All of these activities share the common goal of working on building knowledge about the meaning of the words that students can decode. The last row, comprehension, focuses on those last two parts of the word knowledge network. And in fact, you'll see that morphology is appearing in two rows because morphology actually has the impact on both word meaning, but also word function, which is very important as we think about syntax. So the activities in row 3 are morph sort, where we're sorting words based on morphological elements. Grammar sort, where we're sorting words based on their function. That is, what job do they do? Is it an action? Is it a namer? Does it tell us when or where? And then phrase building, where we combine words to make a phrase, and that phrase then answers one of the grammatical questions. And by doing these 3 rows of activities, we are doing 2 important things. One, we are practicing the components of our language that we have to learn in order to read, and block practice in row 1, interleave practice in row 2, and generalization in row 3. But importantly, we are also practicing from sound to syntax in every module, so that we're moving well beyond phonics and embracing the breadth of what the science of reading is informing us that we need to do to create skilled readers. We'd like to think that it is the word knowledge network that gave rise to this comment, which is Sortegories is elegantly simple and brilliantly organized, because it was important to us in the development of Sortegories that we created a model not only for Sortegories activities, but a model that can be replicated in your classrooms. We hope that this model will help you bring more students to a proficient level of reading, which is our number one goal.